Hey, Mike Krabas, and this is my midterm. Um, we are building the Meta Finance Challenge here. So, build, ship, and share. Yeah, we are going to be picking up the Meta 10K filing. Then we are going to be using OpenAI's GPT 3.5 Turbo. And we're going to use OpenAI's embedding model, text 3 embedding small. We are going to be using LangChain as our infrastructure to orchestrate all this. And we're using the vector store quadrant. And we're bringing it together into a UI that will be a chainlet UI that is a chatbot that we are going to deploy that's going to be hosted on Hugging Face as a Docker container. And we will be running some tests on some specific questions about Meta. We will be then be looking to use Ragus to do some metrics and to tweak and compare. And then we'll follow up with the takeaways from that. So taking a look at this, what I've done is I have structured this in two parts. The first part was just getting the actual framework up and running for the application. So that's deploying the Hugging Face space with a simple chatlet app. Reason for that, DevOps is not my thing. Lots of tinkering and tweaking to get things running and getting familiar with it. So I decided I'd get the shell working first and then drop the engine with the RAG components in, do the answering, and then from there move on to doing the Ragus component to optimize. All of this has been in GitHub. I have broken this into two parts. One part is the actual notebook where the RAG part component is. The other is the sandbox. In the sandbox, I have the app, which then gets dropped into the cloned directory from Hugging Face so that it can be deployed. So what are we looking at? We're looking at taking data that is a mixture of text and tables, and it's tons of that financial stuff that's just almost impossible to read. And we want to be able to create a chat bot so people can ask questions on that. Taking a look at that, we can jump in terms of the actual demo itself. So let's start. This is my chatbot. It is a Hugging Face space. So when I start this up, it's going to start the chat, and from here I can then start making questions to it. So let's start off with the total cash, and no, the cash and cash equivalent. Let's fire that off, and we see that we take a look at in the tables, and we can actually find that value there. And then for the next question, we are going to be taking a look at the board. Where is the board? There's the board. And then we can report on the board. Taking a look at the board, I did take a look at this, and then afterwards I went to Meta and I took a look, and I said, hey, where's Hawk Tan? Why are we seeing this? Well, this report was based upon what was the filing, and he just joined recently. So what you see on the actual Meta site is not exactly going to be what's going to actually be reported. But we can actually do other questions in there as well. What's the purpose of Meta? It comes back and extracts that from the actual report. And then you can start asking some other questions. Where's the headquarters? And see what happens when it gets some totally erroneous question, like how many likes did Facebook get last year? And it's going to come back and say, no, I can't answer that. It's insufficient data. So that's the basic chat app that we've built. And let's take a look at the actual structure of the code. So going into this, as I mentioned, I've structured this into two parts. The actual app itself is in the sandbox, and from there, what I've done is I've built all the things in terms of requirements and all the things for Chainlit. And the interesting part was understanding and learning how the Chainlit app works with something that is providing a request response. So how do we get the question, and how do we then present that in a response? And then based on this, how do we integrate this into the pipeline that a implementation of something that has, a RAG that's bringing in a file, and this is the actual, I guess, the chassis that holds all the pieces together that built that app that I just showed you. Now let's look at the guts in terms of the actual engine of itself and the actual RAG component. Very simple in terms of, like we mentioned, in terms of the components. We'll go through those. Start off with the classic dependencies that we need to start off with. And then from there, we're going to get our data. So we are going to get our PDF file from the internet. We're going to be using the Paimu PDF loader. And then from there, we're going to chunk the document. And what we're going to do is use chunks of 200 with no overlap. Played around with this. Actually, 200 really worked out well for answering questions. So that's what I've stuck with. And then from there, I want to put this into quadrant. Now that I have this, I'm going to actually set this up based on the embedding that model that we're using from OpenAI. And that's where we be able to create all the chunks, put this into the pipeline, set up the prompt so we were actually being able to handle all sorts of crazy different situations, and then ask the questions. And this is where we come back and we can actually test in the notebook how things are working. And from there, we said, okay, well, that's working. Let's actually use Ragus. What Ragus is going to be able to provide is a baseline. So being able to actually set this all up and be able to use it to create this test data and be able to have this run and be able to get a score based upon each of the types of responses. And the evaluation component, it takes a lot of time, and it also is kind of expensive. But when you finish, you come up with a baseline, a grade that you can do this. And in looking at this, lots of 9.9s here, so great, except for this answer correctness. So, started to look around, went to answer correctness in Ragus, went online, looked at some papers, saw some different ways of changing the retriever, and I said, we'll stick with a very basic multi-query mechanism. And from there, we were able to rerun the evaluation, and the results that we got, we were able to actually improve things, which was great. But in the end, it comes with a cost. We lost a little bit on faithfulness and answer relevance, but we actually picked up in our answer. Some of the takeaways. Python, notebook or script, has to juggle between that. Hugging Face, creating the spaces. A lot of stuff in terms of where to set up the clone and how to work it, setting up your secrets, your Docker file correctly. Your README file, your README.md has things that actually makes it visible. How to work with Docker, being able to clean up, making sure the dependencies are right. How to work with Chainlit, how that was integrated. Things to learn, I'd like to know more about the retrieval options, when and how to use them. How do hybrid retrievers work? How embedding models tuning works. Ragus is cool, but it's kind of expensive. Is there cheaper ways? UI options. Can I use Streamlit? How would I work this integrate it into a mobile app? And designing app and RAG pipelines to scale. This works now, but will it work when I go large? And that's my midterm. Thank you.